Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today will be no different. In honor of Breast Cancer Month, I'm wearing a pink hoodie, but I'm also going to have a conversation around some of the tips for prevention and natural solutions for breast cancer. Now, with that being said, let me first say this is not a substitute for medical advice, okay? If you have specific questions about your specific situation, you need to follow up with your physician. Now, with that being said, the reason why I think it's important I have this conversation, because just like me, you have somebody in your life that you love and you care about. Most people have had somebody in their life who has been affected by breast cancer. And so, I'm going to go over a few statistics in a second to let you understand how prevalent this is. And the reason why I think that's important is because we're constantly being told that there's all kind of new therapy coming out that is, groundbreaking and changing everything. Okay, immunotherapy, gene therapy, etc. We're constantly being told that breast cancer and cancer overall is going down. Okay. And that is not true, okay? And I think that's really important to sort of stress, because we have these ideas about what cancer is, but as soon as you go into your doctor and you get that diagnosis, I can't imagine what that does to anyone. The amount of fear and shock and stress that goes into the body, but once you hear that diagnosis. And the reason there is so much fear and stress is because we've had a family member, a friend, or somebody we knew that went through cancer, and it's not a pretty sight to see. And so it's really important that we understand that we have to arm ourselves with proper knowledge, because when you go into your doctor and you get this diagnosis, it is going to be a very scary time for you. And they're going to be pushing this same therapy that they've been using since the 1970s, chemo, radiation, and surgery. Okay, that is the brunt of what they will be using: chemo, radiation, and surgery. And with that being said, I think it's important that we understand what we're up against. So just a few statistics. Breast cancer is the most common cancer in the United States for women, okay? It is the second most common cancer worldwide, okay? 1 in 8 women are affected by breast cancer, okay? And then when it comes to African American women, they have a 40% higher mortality rate, okay? Almost 50% higher mortality rate, okay? As opposed to Caucasian, Asian women. So that's a really concerning, statistic to learn as well too. Now, what I want you guys to understand before we get into these breast prevention tips and natural solutions is that all of this isn't to make you more afraid. All of this is to make you more empowered. That's the most important thing that I want you to take away from this conversation. I want you to be more empowered by the end of this conversation. Don't let it put more fear in you, let it empower you, okay? Now, with that being said, this is not a substitute for medical advice, okay? If you have specific questions about your specific situation or medical condition, please follow up with your physician. Hopefully you got a really good physician who understands the importance of prevention as well as treatment, okay? Now, with that being said, what I want to say before we get into this is that it's important to understand that there are very, confusing things that are in the whole space around breast cancer or cancer in general. Like, for instance, the survival rate. When most people hear the idea of a survival rate, the first thing they think to themselves is like, this is a good thing, because when you look at the statistics, it says that the survival rate is going up. But what most people don't know about the survival rate is based off of a very short period of time, which is 5 years. And that's 5 years from the initial diagnosis. And the reason why that's so important is because typically it takes cancer a very long time to develop. So if you go in there with stage 1 cancer, you may not see a full bone cancer until 3-4 years from there. Okay. And so if you start chemo and you start radiation and you pass away 2 years from that time, you are considered a survivor of breast cancer, even though you passed away, because you're outside of that 5-year window. I think that's really important because that's the metric that they're using to determine what is successful therapy, to determine what is successful treatment. Rather than curing the cancer, shrinking the tumor, or getting rid of the cancer and then never coming back. Those are not the metrics that they use. They use breast cancer survival, okay? Your survival rate, okay? I think that's really important. And again, this isn't to put any fear in you because, you know, we see the breast cancer walks and things of that nature that bring more attention to, you know, the condition. But it's just important to understand that you don't have to just be a survivor. You can be a thriver, okay? And you thrive with prevention, okay? You thrive by shifting your lifestyle to shift your metabolism. That's hugely important. Now, what I want to do is give you a few early signs, warning signs that it could be potentially breast cancer because, you know, and this is probably for another video, but you know, when it comes to mammograms, there's a bit of a concern behind mammograms and also biopsies as well, too. Okay. So it's important to monitor yourself. Okay. It's important to monitor yourself. As I always say, you have to be your first doctor. Okay. Because when you go into your doctor is going to ask you all of these questions to see what's going on with you, and how good you are with doing that determines, you know, how much they can help you, okay? It will be the same thing if I work with somebody one-on-one. I can only work with what I'm given. And so you have to know thyself, okay? So here are a few signs and symptoms. Number one, breast tenderness or pain, okay? If you start to get breast tenderness or pain in the armpit as well too, all of this is connected, okay? The breast tissue and the armpit are directly connected because the lymphatic system, which is, imagine my hand. You have all of these lymphatic vessels that are in the breast area that are carrying away, okay? The whole purpose of the lymphatic system is to remove waste, to remove acidity, to remove toxins, to remove bacteria, viruses, and cancer, okay, from the body. That's the purpose of the lymphatic system. And those lymphatic vessels carry all of that towards lymph nodes, which are in the armpit, okay? Now, I want you to think about something for a second. If you are putting antiperspirant deodorant on every day that has aluminum in it, that is blocking these lymph nodes from releasing all of that acidity, all of that waste, the bacteria, the viruses, the dead cancers that the body got rid of, then it stays stagnant right there in the armpit and backs up into the breast tissue, okay? All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but this is why you can start to experience some breast tenderness or pain in both the breast and the armpit as well too. All right, number two, you will see a possible blood discharge or pus discharge from the nipples, okay? Okay, if you start to notice that you're having a discharge from the nipples and it's not breast milk, then that could be a possible sign and symptom that you should be concerned, okay? Number three is changes in the skin of the breast and also the armpit as well too. You'll notice that it'll get flaky. You'll notice that some redness there possibly. You'll notice like a little bit of dimpling in the breast as well too. That's a possible sign to be concerned as well too. Okay, not necessarily a sign that you have breast cancer, but something to be concerned about, something to address when you notice changes like that. Number four is changes in the nipple appearance or the breast size. So if you notice that one breast gets much larger than the other, or you notice that the nipple becomes much more bigger, okay, or smaller, or if you notice that the nipple starts to turn inward, okay? That's a possible concern as well too. And then lumps, of course, in the breasts, but also the armpits as well too. So I highly recommend monthly doing some sort of examination on yourself, just a checkup. As they say, if you don't check yourself, you wreck yourself. So, make sure you're doing checks here and there. And most importantly, what I want you to understand is if you find a lump, it does not mean that it's cancerous. Okay? You could just have fibrotic tissue there that needs to be broken up. So it does not mean that it's cancerous just because you found a lump, but you do want to have a little bit of concern or awareness if you find a lump that you checked the month before and it wasn't there and now it's there. Okay, hugely important. All right, let's get into some of these prevention and solutions that I recommend. So I know a lot of ladies, when they hear like a family member got it, or they go in and they find out that they got a gene that says, hey, you have an increased risk for it, all of these type of things. This is what this is for. This is what this conversation is for, okay? So the number one thing you could do is stop feeding cancer, okay? And the reason why I'm saying stop feeding cancer is because quite often when you go into your doctor and you ask, well, what should I stop eating? Or is there something I had in my lifestyle or that caused this cancer? More than likely, they're going to say no, okay? And it's not because they hate you or they're mean or they're diabolical. It's just because they don't know, because they haven't been taught this, okay? But there are things that feed cancer. And why do we know that? Because there are things that are labeled as carcinogens, okay? All right, so we know that there are things that cause cancer because they're labeled as carcinogens. There are drugs that have a carcinogenic effect, okay? So we know that there are things that cause, cancer, okay? But there are also things that we eat every day that feed cancer, okay? And the reason why I say that is because a cancerous cell versus a healthy cell are totally different cells. They act totally different, okay? One is based on what's called respiratory cellular respiration, okay, where it uses oxygen, okay, in combination with glucose. The other, which is cancer, uses fermentation. Now think about that. When something ferments, it rots, okay, and that's the type of metabolism that a cancerous cells use, okay. And there's something that caused that metabolism of that healthy cell that use cellular respiration to switch to fermentation, okay? And our diets can do that. It's not only the natural things in our diet, but most importantly, the unnatural things in our diets as well too. Okay? Because 60 to 70% of the standard American diet is processed foods. Processed foods mean that you have added food chemicals to them and that you have removed the fiber and the nutrients from it. Okay? If 70% of your diet is that, 70% of your diet is out of a box, bag, can, jar with a huge label with lots of ingredients in it, that feeds cancer. So processed foods feed cancers. Added sugar feeds cancers. Refined carbohydrates feed cancer. Refined grains. And also glutamine, okay, which is an amino acid, but you will find glutamine in large amounts in meat. So eating lots of meat will feed cancer as well too. Not only will it feed cancer in that way because of the glutamine, but because of all the other toxic things like hormones that they put in these animals and that they feed these animals that are loaded with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. Okay, so stop feeding cancer. All right, number one. Number two, balance your hormones, especially when it comes to reproductive cancers like breast cancer. You got to get your hormones balanced, okay? When we think about how unbalanced not only women are, but men are when it comes to our hormones today, is largely in part due to the fact that our environment, our foods, is saturated with endocrine disruptors like phthalates and parabens and pesticides like atrazines and plastics. All of these things will cause hormonal imbalance. Okay, so you got to get them out of your life. Okay, switching to natural products. Stop putting, the average woman puts about 4 to 10 pounds of makeup on their skin, and whatever you put on your skin is absorbed. Okay, so changing the things that you put on your skin, changing the things that you put on your plate. Okay, hugely important to get these sort of carcinogens or hormonal or endocrine disruptors that are disrupting our endocrine, which is our hormonal system. Okay, you got to get them out, not only get them out of the diet, but you got to get them out of your lifestyle. They're in your household products, all of these things. Okay, so getting them out is going to be very important to balance the hormones, because a large reason why women get breast cancer and other reproductive cancer is due to the hormonal imbalance. Okay, hugely important, especially when it's estrogen dominance in the body. Okay, hugely important. All right, so balancing the hormones is going to be hugely important. Number 3, resistance training. You got to build muscle. Muscle is important because muscle is an organ of metabolism. If you want to help control your metabolism, build muscle. Okay, this is where your body takes the excess sugar and puts it inside of the muscle to be used for energy. Okay, if you don't have muscle and you're mostly fat, it can't do that. And we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, what fat does to the body. But building muscle will boost the metabolism and lower the blood glucose levels. The higher your blood sugar levels are, the more you're going to feed cancer. Okay, because that's what cancerous tissues and cells love, sugar. Okay, so one way you can fix that problem or help that problem is with resistance training or exercising to build muscle. Okay, again, an emphasis on building muscle. All right, now emphasis on building muscle. All right, number 4, eat to kill cancer. Okay, yes, you can eat to kill cancer. Okay, go organic so you don't have to panic. Again, some of those pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides are actually disrupting not only your hormonal system, your endocrine system, but they're also ruining your gut and your microbiome, where 70 to 80% of your immunity is made. Okay, and your immunity is what fights cancer in the first place. Okay, your immunity, ultimately, it doesn't matter if you take chemo or radiation or you don't. Ultimately, what is going to help you beat cancer is your own immune system. Okay, hugely important. And I'm making that a point because what most people don't understand is that when you take chemo, what you'll notice is that a lot of people, their hair falls out. A lot of people, they get diarrhea, they throw up, they're vomiting all the time because it's killing the lining of their gut, which is killing 70 to 80% of the immune system. Hugely important. All right. So go organic so you don't have to panic. All right. Plus, it's gonna have more nutrients in it as well too. Eat electric greens. Okay, eat electric greens. You need to get greens in your body because that'll increase magnesium in your body. Okay, it'll alkalize your body. And what I mean by electric greens are things like dandelion and arugula. Okay, people love spinach. Okay, but spinach is loaded with oxalic acid. Okay, so that's why I'm giving you these alternatives. All right, tropical fruits, so you can get a lot of antioxidants, and berries, and so that way you can get vitamin C as well too, boosting the immune system, getting rid of free radicals. Okay, hugely important. Getting some healthy fats in the diet. Okay, avocados, nuts, and seeds. All right, so that's another way you can eat to kill cancer as well too. All right, these healthy fats are going to be anti-inflammatory. Okay, anti-inflammatory means that it's going to make the tumor not swell and get bigger. Okay, number 5, fasting. Fasting is hugely important because one of the things that fasting does is fasting makes cancer cells more vulnerable to our immune system. Okay, when cancer cells switch to that different type of metabolism that I told you about, they also become less visible to our immune system. They also become more resistant, okay, to our immune system as well too. Okay, it also takes away a lot of the benefits of switching to that Metabolism, which I said before, is fermentation. It takes away a lot of those benefits, okay, which makes it more vulnerable. But another thing is that when you fast, you're not overeating. And when you overeat, you feed cancer. Okay, it's been shown in mice studies. It's also been shown in humans as well too. When you overeat, you feed cancer. And the other benefit of fasting is autophagy. Autophagy is what you achieve at around 16 hours, but it starts to peak at around 48 hours of fasting. And that autophagy is intracellular cleansing. It gets rid of old, dead, senescent cells. It gets rid of cancer cells as well too. And again, it makes those cancer cells more vulnerable to your immune system. Okay, and it's a detoxification of the body as well too. So fasting is also really key as well too. All right, number six is stress management and what I call shadow work, meaning getting rid of those unresolved traumas in your life. I always tell people is that your body will always keep the anger, the fear, the hurt that we experience when we don't know how to get it out of ourselves, when we don't know how to express it out of ourselves, when we don't know how to work through the trauma. Okay, and that trauma can make us sick. Okay, the same way stress can make us sick, because stress increases cortisol and cortisol suppresses the immune system. So the more stressed you are, the more cortisol you have. Or if you're not sleeping enough, you're going to increase cortisol as well too. Cortisol will suppress your immune system, the number one thing that fights cancer in the first place. Okay. Number 7, weight loss. You got to lose some weight. If you have gone to the doctor and you have found out that you have a high BMI, a high fat content in the body, all right, it will not help you on your healing journey when it comes to cancer, because one of the things about fat, excess fat on the body, it aromatizes your testosterone. And I'm talking to women too. So women do have testosterone, but your testosterone will be converted into more estrogen, which will make you more estrogen dominant in the body as well too. All right. It will just constantly increase estrogen in the body. And not only that, fat will actually soak up all of your vitamin D and lower your vitamin D levels. And what does vitamin D do? It's essentially an immune modulator. It controls the immune system like a remote. Okay, so this is why weight loss is also important as well too, in combination, as I mentioned before, with building muscle. You gotta build the muscle, okay? Hugely important. Number 8, you got to detox your life. You gotta detox your life. To be honest with you, the reason why cancer is so prevalent today is because we as a society have never been more toxic. Okay, the amount of chemicals that are being put in our bodies on a daily basis compared to, I'm talking 40 years ago, 50 years ago, is astronomical, especially in our food, but I'm talking about in household products, in lotions, shampoos, deodorants, you name it, okay? Mattresses, they put flame retardants in there that are actually very toxic to our bodies as well too. We're getting toxicity in virtually every way. And then when you think about our lifestyles today, especially specific to women, in this conversation that we're talking about is using wired bras. So the wire that's in the bra that is cutting off that lymphatic circulation. Okay, you need that lymph to flow because it's removing waste, acidity, viruses, parasites, cancer. Is removing it. It's taking it to the lymph nodes. But if you got on this wired bra that's gripping you the whole day and there's no flow, the flow is stagnant, then that's going to cause a problem, especially in conjunction with putting on antiperspirant deodorant with aluminum that shuts down those pores from removing all of that waste. Okay, so hugely important. Detox your life. Get rid of the wired bras. Get rid of the antiperspirant deodorant with aluminum. Get rid of the toxic tampons. Most women don't think about that. Get rid of toxic people. Okay, get rid of toxic thinking. Get rid of chronic stress. Get rid of toxic accumulation in the body. A lot of you have done my detox. And my detox gets rid of the parasites, the yeast, the heavy metals, the mucus, the acidity. Getting rid of toxicity is a huge part of that equation as well, too, because that toxicity is what's going inside of the cell, mutating the DNA, okay? Damaging the mitochondria, okay? That's making the cell become mutated and eventually cancerous as well, too. All right, so that's hugely important. And the big focus is your immune system. That means gut health, all right? You need good gut health, all right? So that is what I wanted to share with you guys today. It's hugely important to know and understand that, again, prevention is the focus, all right? Prevention is the focus even when you have a diagnosis, all right? Most people think you do prevention just before, okay? Before you get diagnosed or before you get a condition. No, prevention is what you do on a daily basis, whether you're diagnosed or not diagnosed, okay? Prevention helps even when you're diagnosed or undiagnosed. Hugely important. And that doesn't just apply to this conversation, it applies to every conversation, okay? Hugely important. Please share this video in respect to Breast Cancer Month, sending my light and love to anybody out there who is suffering with breast cancer, has suffered with breast cancer, or knows somebody who does. Hopefully this video can inspire them on their journey and give them a little bit of guidance when it comes to what do I do next, because I understand how scary that could be. So please share the video, hit the subscribe button, like this. Let's make this kind of content go viral so that we can save people's lives, because I can't just do it myself. I got to do it with you. Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.